Hello guys, this is Big Fish, and in this video I'm gonna be talking a little bit about the things that actually came up from a comment section over here. As this guy said, guy, probably me, Primrose too hard for manual control during mass PvP. I have tried too many times but still cannot control her well. You should probably make a video to help Primrose player in this. And you know what? I love these kind of comments. I love comments that actually allow me to understand more about the kind of problems that most of you have in general with the class. After all, I'm probably one of the best in this class. So yeah, I think it's my duty to share to you what I know, the best that I can. And so yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how to manually control mass PvP. And as a bonus, I'm actually going to be explaining a lot more into the mechanics of like some strategies that you can follow in mass PvP or Battlefield of the Sun. But probably I'm going to be focusing more into Battlefield of the Sun. Right before that, I just want to let you guys see here. This is my skill set. Okay. Give me a second. I probably haven't fixed the quality yet. Okay. Phone's kind of hot. Alright. Skill set. Alright. So I want you to follow my second skill set over here. Alright. I want you to screenshot all of this and make sure that you get it all right. Okay. Right. How this thing goes is you actually want to equip all of your super armor skills, which is infinite stab, absolute zero, frigid burst, glacier wall, paddle ward, and cold snap. Paddle ward is mainly going to be used later on. I'll have a brief explanation about how you can use this skill in particular. Alright, so yeah, let's go out. Okay, first, this is for skill usage. Alright, I've already made a list here, so I want you all to equip all of your super armor skills, which is the skills that I just explained to you in the past, like just a couple seconds ago. I want you to equip all of those skills. And this is a bit of things I want to explain, right? Two charge type skill, which is like the frigid burst and the cold snap, right? You need to use this thing, one to go in and one to go out. So you don't want to use both. In general, the charge type skill, don't deal a lot of damage. So you don't actually use the charge type skill to actually deal damage. You just need that to go in and out of fights, right? So if you use frigid burst to go in, you need to use cold snap to go out, vice versa, right? The third point is quite important. Is I want you not to use paddle ward in the middle of a crowd. Why? Because when you're in the middle of a crowd, you're like between a lot of people, right? Like you don't even know how many people are hitting you at the same time. And the first hit of paddle ward, which is like the guarding stance, is actually only a forward guard. It's not a super armor. So if you hit from behind, you can actually get knocked down. Or you can get dazed or stunned, right? 4, right? If your infinite stab and absolute zero is on cooldown, I want you to spam glacier wall on the crowd because it can freeze. It has solid AOE. It's quite big. It has decent damage and it can freeze. The main point is it can freeze, and this is very good to spam on like a lot of crowd because probably you can get 1 or 2 people frozen. That's gonna significantly reduce the amount of damage that they can actually deal. Alright? The second one, we're going to be talking about things that you should think about in the middle of a fight in Battlefield of the Sun. Alright, so this is the first scenario. I put this to 2 scenarios in which so you can like kind of like understand. Scenario 1 is when your team is actually ahead. So you're actually winning. And your enemy is losing. That means the percentage of the boss is actually much further away on your team. That means you're actually winning. All right. There's a couple things to do, and what you want to do is basically the main idea is you want to create a larger gap. You want to increase the gap so the enemy can't come back, right? And there's a couple things that you can do for that one, and that is actually I want you to go to the respawn post, and I want you to steal the respawn post. You don't really need to steal it. You just need to stay there. Right? I want you to stay there and cause as many problems. Why? Because when you're there and you're spamming skills and all of that, you're keeping them away from the battlefield. All right. So I'm probably gonna give me a second. All right. So basically, what you're doing is you're stopping movements. You're disabling them from entering the battlefield arena, like the battlefield area. And when they're not in the battlefield, it means that your team has more advantage, right? So your enemy, your friends, your team members are hitting the boss. They're killing everyone else left in the battlefield, while their team can't actually follow because you're blocking their path from their respawn point to their boss. All right. And ideally, you want to keep the enemy around you for five seconds. More is much better. The longer you can prolong this this blockage, the better it actually goes. Later on, I'm going to be explaining a lot more into how this thing actually goes. All right, the scenario 2 is when your team is losing. And this is probably the more important part, because this thing is actually what you need to learn. And this can actually create a lot of impact if you understand how Battlefield of the Sun goes, all right? So this condition is when you're actually losing and the enemy is winning. You want to create impact by stealing posts, all right? You want to steal the post. It has to be stolen. Whatever happens, it has to be stolen, all right? All right. The enemy units will come to deal with you. Of course. I mean, you're basically, you stole the respawn point, so now they have only one respawn point left, or maybe 0. I don't know, all right? That means if you can bring more than 5 people towards you, that means you're actually bringing 5 people away from the battlefield. And imagine that, 5 people. And if you're lucky, those are the high CPs. Because then they won't be hitting the boss. They won't be hitting your friends. They'll be hitting you. They'll be chasing you. And as a primrose, you're very fast. You're fast. You're difficult to lock down. You're very good at disengaging. You're very good at running away. Use that mobility advantage, right? The primrose is a dangerous class. Why? Because it can just go in. In the past, the primrose class or the assassin class, like basically the primrose can be considered an assassin class. It basically it jumps from far away and just jumps in front of your face. And we have the best gap closer in the game. We're very good at getting close to the enemy. And when this happens is you need to abuse the fact that we are very fast, right? You want to abuse that mobility to actually dodge enemy spells, and you want to prolong your life as long as you can while you're bringing these 5 or more people towards you. And because when this happens, you're creating a numbers advantage. That means your enemy has 5 less people to deal with your team because the rest of them are busy dealing with you. All right? When this happens, you are creating impact. All right? Now, what you want to do is you want to steal the respawn post. And what happens is, I'm going to explain that in a little bit. All right? You want to stall from 5 to 10 seconds of you being able to stall. It's profitable and it will show impact right away in the next 1 minute. Why? Because basically when you're doing that, your enemy is hitting the boss and the enemy actually has less, like 5 less people hitting the boss. So now you have numbers advantage in a battlefield. It's 1 U, but like the only sacrifice here is 1 U. And while the enemy has 5 people, which they sacrifice to deal with you, while everyone else, basically the opponents is outnumbered by your teammates because there's more of your teammates in the battlefield. I hope it's quite easy to understand. I hope. All right. So you need to steal the posts. Why? Because you need to recover 30% of your team's HP. That's very nice. You heal your team by 30% health. That's really nice. It can actually be so clutch. This happened a couple of times and it saved my life. Alright, so you want to make people clump up by having 1 respawn post. I'm probably going to be explaining that a lot more over here. Alright? Here. So, imagine that this is me, alright? This is my team. And say you capture this one. Alright? You capture number 3 or number 4. Let's say you capture number 4, alright? So then, let me get this thing. All right, so think about it this way. All right, think about it this way. This is how I want you to look at it. Say you steal this one. So now, This is yours. So now the enemy can't respawn from here. So now their only opening is here and here, right? Now, if you, I'm gonna mark you as yellow, maybe pink. All right. If you are here, that means if you are here, that means you're covering the enemy from actually leaving this to go here. This is the battlefield, right? So you're closing their entrance to go here. So now they can't go there. Why? Because you're blocking it. Because you're creating a lot of problems, and they have to deal with you first before they have to deal with you before they can actually go here. I hope that kind of makes sense. All right? Yeah, that's basically how this stuff goes, and that is how you create impact in your team. Like, that is how you make impact. All right? Let's see there. All right. As I've said before, this creates a number advantage in your team that's currently on the battlefield compared to the enemy, and this gives you an advantage. This is how things go, and I hope it kind of makes sense. Like, yeah, basically the idea is to trap as many enemies in one location. So try to imagine if the enemy is over here. All right, try. There's something I want you to understand. Say this is yours already. You captured this one already, right? The only two pathways that the enemy can probably go is from here or here. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Now, once you've captured this one, that means most likely your opponent will be going from here, right? Right? Now, if they're going from there and you are here, now there's like more and more people will spawn from this area, and it's going to be clumped up with so many people here, and they can't leave and go to the battlefield because you're guarding the entrance, which is this line over here. All right, so then more of your team can actually build up into the battlefield, and the ones from the enemy team, they are dying, they will respawn here, and you're blocking them from actually going to the battlefield. And this causes your team to just go flood in, and the ones left here will eventually get outnumbered. And then this will create an advantage, because then you have numbers advantage. More of your team will be dealing damage. Right? I hope it makes sense. Yeah, basically that is how Battlefield of the Sun goes. And I've already explained this so many times, but apparently there's people who still don't understand how this thing goes, and so I'm explaining this thing now. And basically, if you can stay, like if you can keep people for 10 seconds, you will result a 3 to 4% increase in your team's overall boss damage advantage. This is quite legit. I've already tried it out. I tried it out so you don't have to, right? Bottom line is, less enemies on the battlefield equals less people to deal with your team hitting the boss, and less enemies hitting your boss, which in return gives you a much better chance to win and to come back from the losing position. Alright guys, I hope it makes sense, everything I've said before, and I really hope to see you guys again soon. See you guys.